Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Philippe Humeau. Philippe is the founder of CrowdSec, which is an open source multiplayer firewall that is able to analyze visitor behavior and provide protection using crowdsourcing power. Philippe, thank you for coming to our interview today.
Thank you, Boris, for having me on the show. It's a delight.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. So when I read the short description of what your company does, and when I look into your website, I'm sure that we will have a very thoughtful conversation on the biggest issues currently facing cybersecurity and how open source platforms like yours combat them. And I noticed that you are a 5-time entrepreneur, 10 times seed investor, wow, and frequent public speaker, and even archer, wow. So can you explain us what drives you in life to do all these things? Does it come naturally to you, or you just stumbled on your entrepreneurship bug once and can't go back anymore?
Well, I thought to myself, in early 2000, out of the school, engineering school, I had all the doors open to me because it was the 2000 bubble. So honestly, the real internet boom took place by then. And I was like, okay, I want to be my own boss. I mean, it's not that I don't like the enterprise, but I felt it was too narrow for me, too much constraints, and like I say, I'm not a good manager. I'm a good leader, but not a good manager, and I'm not regular. So some people, they work like very precisely, like clockwork, every day, deliver the same amount of passion and expertise and all. I'm not like that. I'm like heels and tails, and I wanted to have my liberty for creating and experimenting. After all, our life is very short. So I found myself more suitable to be an entrepreneur than to be an employee, which confirmed later on as being true, because I was employee for a very short period of times, and it was neither a good experience for me nor for my employers, actually.
It's typical for a good entrepreneur that he is kind of cannot work in a typical corporate environment, but he can create something out of thin air, right?
Yeah, once my coach, he called me and he was like, because we have these coaching sessions and he knows me for 10 years already. And he was like, but why do you do it? I mean, give me reasons why you do, what you take risk, why you take this stress and stuff for yourself. Why do you do it? And I was like, wow, that's actually the hardest, question I ever had regarding business. I don't know. I do it because I can. And since I can, I must do it because not everybody can. And I don't know, it's a drive, I have to do it because I can do it. And so many people were not given this opportunity, to be able to study, to learn, to hone their skills because they were in the wrong place, in the wrong country, in the wrong age, in the wrong family, whatever. So I had this luck, so I cannot waste it.
Yeah, exactly. Normally speaking, when you speak about French entrepreneurs, now is kind of a new generation. Normally we are speaking about Americans and Silicon Valley, maybe in Israel, but in France it's kind of new new wave, right?
Yeah, recently the ecosystem was super active. I mean, we have governments that are more pro-entrepreneurs than there ever was before. And some president before the current one created a structure that is actually very adapted to founding early stage enterprise companies like mine. So we benefited from the government helps in terms of taxes, in terms of investment. It's easier than it ever was to actually create new businesses in France. And this is why we have so many unicorns spawning lately. And it's because the global landscape changed tremendously over the last decade. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Let's go back to your company and what you do. Can you perhaps tell us because on your website you put the following slogan: outnumbering cyber criminals altogether. Can you explain for us what it means?
Yeah, well, the thinking behind, let's be back to the thinking first, Boris, why we do what we do. I mean, if you look at and it will talk to your audience, I'm sure. If you look at the landscape currently, the cyber criminals are winning the war. period. I mean, whatever we inject as money to defend ourselves is never enough, right? Even like extremely large companies with budget close to GDP of small countries still are getting hacked every day. We have a supply chain that is larger than ever before. We have a surface of attack that is bigger than ever before. We are using cloud drives, SaaS containers, VMs, bare metal. You know, it's impossible for the risk assessment and the risk manager to cover the whole surface alone. And this is exactly what we're doing now. We are acting as a single entity, the company or the government body or whatever, and fighting against an army. And you know what? You know, history told us that when you are one soldier against an army, you lose. Period. And this is what we're doing. This stupid strategy, this is what we are pertaining for the better part of the last 30 years. So our thinking is the following. In terms of demographic, we are more on the good side of things. We are more white hats. We are more people willing to use the internet in a correct way than there are cyber criminals. We outnumber them in terms of demography, like 1 to 1,000. Now, if we band together, we can stabilize the situation. Like people in the street or in your city or whatever, they band together against, you know, the people that would be rapists or stealing everything or everyone. We don't like those people. We stick together to protect ourselves as a society. We offer the same thing over the internet. By banding together, we will attack the sole weak point of the cyber criminal industry. We are attacking already. This is the IP addresses. Because they have time, they have money, they have surface, they have everything. They just have to succeed once. You have to defend every day. So we attack the only weak link of their supply chain, which is IP addresses, because there is a shortage. There is a shortage in IPv4, right? That we know for a while already. And IPv6 doesn't solve the problem for them, because most of internet is running on IPv4. So if you want to attack IPv4 targets on the internet, you need to have IPv4 addresses most of times. And even though you could do it on IPv6, IPv6 are not yet all scrambled around, so there's a lot that is still not given to anyone. And we can ban very large slices of IPv6 ranges because we know there are just one entity behind. And on top of that, we know exactly what IP belongs to whom in IPv6, which is not true in IPv4. Well, long story short, we are burning IP addresses behind which they are protecting themselves. They are shadowing themselves. They are, you know, sheltering. And if we remove all those layers, they cannot attack anymore because, you know, they need this anonymity. So we strike where it hurts, with the only strength we have in this fight being the demography.
Interesting. So let us discuss a scenario where you are, for example, a hacker and maybe an ethical hacker, and you are trying to find vulnerabilities in a company. Without putting a lot of details, can you describe a few steps? What is the sequence of an action for this person will be?
Yeah, sure. If you are, so a hacker for us is obviously different from a cyber criminal, but let's say you're a pen tester, right? On the good side of things, you're a white hat. So you want to assess the security of a company. I did this job for a long time when I was younger. The usual way of doing it is you observe the surface of the company. What does it have in terms of internet footprint? What services are exposed? What are their domain names? What are their email address format? What are their VPN endpoints? What, you know, all of this. Then you go close to the company physically speaking. You look if there are Bluetooth radiation leaking from the building. You look if there are Wi-Fi radiation leaking from the buildings, and you try to attack wherever the surface allows you to do it. So it could be brute forcing the Wi-Fi, it could be trying eventually to connect to Bluetooth endpoints, it could be trying to compromise the company on distance on their public IPs, it could be trying to phish people or spear phish people in the company with emails that are booby-trapped and drive them to install things. It could be trying to leverage an exploit directly on distance on their servers, or eventually planting a malware through SQL injection or cross-site scripting. You know, the way you can compromise a company is close to infinite. When I was doing this job, Boris, we had a success rate of 99.4%. So meaning we were breaching every time. The question is not will we breach, is how long will it take and how bad will it be. And it's not because we're Superman or whatever. I mean, most of the companies I know that are doing red team pen tests for a while, they have this kind of success rate. It's nearly impossible to protect yourself on all fronts. That's why we want to bring a new tool to help the risk managers to defend themselves.
So tell us what are the biggest challenges, for example, that facing these people that kind of guard the security, and how companies need to proactively address any issues and gaps of their compliance and security related to cyber issues?
Yeah, usually what happens is they have a lot of what we call legacy. So they inherit stuff that were done before, maybe sometime 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. And they have to maintain it because sometimes one machine is folding plain wings, and there's just one machine like this in the whole company. So you're not going to shut down this machine because it's not up to date regarding Windows patch level. It's just not possible. So you have to go around the problem, like assess what is your surface of exposure, assess what is really risky, what really is an access point that would either give high level of credentials or power in the network, or eventually be too close to something very sensitive, right? And you have to invest into protecting those points sometime, and often enough thinking out of the box. Let me give you an example. In a French company, a large one, very large one, military related, we won a tender a long time ago with my former company, and they were like, okay, how do we deal with those people that are connecting from outside on our VPNs and on our WordPress machines and stuff to update them? They are freelancers, we don't know their IP, and we cannot possibly register them in our firewalls. So meaning we have to open those to everyone. I'm like, no, you don't have to. There are ways around that. It's called port knocking. Port knocking is like, if you knock the proper sequence on the door, on the firewall, then the firewall will whitelist your IP. It's as simple as that. Meaning you can be on any IP in the world and knock the proper ports and have your CSAM into the system to be able to maintain whatever you have to maintain, without putting a rule in your firewall that would say, accept everyone because we don't know how to sort it, right? That wouldn't make sense. Now, next thing is you have to have a good firewall, good antiviruses. Those are the fundamental bricks. They are not enough, but they are the fundamental bricks. You cannot skip on those. You have to have good backups, and you have to have them outside of the company, because if the company gets ruined by a ransomware attack or whatever, you need to be able to recover them on distance, right? You have to test them often, because a lot of time, you back up and you never test, and the day you need it, well, they are just not there, or just not up to date. Test things, the white hat hackers, the pen tester, they will tell you where your weaknesses are. It's not costing that much, and it will help you build a strategy to fill the holes that are the most dangerous on the shortest time. And yeah, look into open source. I mean, lately with this thing like, open source can be risky, whatever, it's bullshit, honestly. If you look at how many proprietary product had vulnerabilities that we didn't know about, like SolarWind, hello, this is not a problem of open source. Open source is transparent, right? Anybody can audit it, and it's free for most of this. So you can get very good tools for free, audited most of the time, and they are there waiting for you, like CrowdSec, but so many others, right?
Fantastic. So I would like to hear your personal opinion. What is the commonly held belief or biggest misconception in the cybersecurity field that you are probably strongly disagree with?
It's not an easy one, because people are full of certainty, and myself as well. And this is where we take risk. When you're sure of something, usually it's where you're proven wrong. Many people think internet cannot go down, internet as a whole. And actually, I do. I disagree with them. I think internet can be taken down because we have a lot of weak points over the internet, whatever we think about. And there are plenty of ways I can think, the global internet could be compromised. Like, I can give you two examples. Say if a vulnerability is found that could trigger the main routers like Cisco, Juniper, and all, like really the pillars of internet, and that can take them down by when they eat a certain type of packet. Someone can take the whole routing of the internet down. That would, like on the BGP level, that would be extremely risky. Another one I think about, and I'm pretty sure that could exist one day, is if someone find a 0-day exploit on iPhone and Android phones, 99% of what's out there, and can compromise them using a worm. So you go into JFK or whatever large airport, and you launch your attack, and this thing jumps from one phone to another, exactly like COVID did, from one human to another. Next thing you know, it's all over the world, and one guy somewhere has a button and can push and say, attack this. And the day you have 2 billion devices trying to hammer one point, this point will melt. No matter if it's Akamai or Cloudflare or whatever big they are, they will just melt. And this person will have the sole power of saying, pay me that many Bitcoins or whatever, and I release your machines. And what will be the price tag then?
Interesting.
That's scary. I'm sorry. I don't mean to give you nightmares, but
it's interesting to hear for a kind of independent point of view, because I don't hear it very often. Sometimes I myself was a victim, not a victim, but probably somebody tried to call me and kind of do some schemes to send some Bitcoins and stuff that they from my old email that I don't use it anymore. So probably this email went to kind of some leak and then used now to call people and offer some scams. It's kind of small guys, but
that's all around you. I mean, why I regret right now is that we should have some kind of digital citizenship passport, right? Because everyone is on the internet, including our kids, our teens, our grandma, our pa, and all. Everybody is on the internet. But how many of that population has been trained into the cyber risk? Close to no one, right? So when you let people into the street with cars, you expect they have a driving license, right? Because for the common good, you'd rather have them not kill someone on a curb because they missed the turn, right? Or didn't understand the panels or the road signs. Here, it's on the digital world, we should have that. I mean, by 14 or 12, kids should have a passport, digital passport saying, yes, I undergo this training about cybersecurity. I understand what it means to shoot myself naked and send the picture to someone. I'm not saying don't do sexto, it's your problem. But when you do so, you have to understand what it implies. When you publish something, you have to understand what it implies. When you open your gate on distance with whatever computer, you have to understand what it implies. When you have a camera surveying your indoor premises, you have to understand what it implies that you can reach it on distance with your phone. It means it's going to the cloud. It means that someone else can see it. It means that there could be an attack on it. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying just be aware of what you do. And that should be a mandatory thing for digital citizenship.
All right. So based on what you said, how organizations or risk managers in their normal working environment have to start doing something that, based on what you said, maybe can you explain some first steps and then they can go on this swim with this passport, digital passport. So maybe this kind of training, I don't know, what are your ideas about it?
Well, for the professionals, it's a bit different because they are liable in a company. It's a bit different. They represent a moral entity. They are usually the government, specifically the Dutch government. Like we talked about it before. They are very active here, so they have a lot of advices to give to companies to defend themselves. The French government does the same. The US government does the same. So already, have this list checked out. Be sure that it's clean, right? Because it's a very beginning. Then have some red team pen test hackers check your company against whatever they can find. It's going to cost you something around like variably between 10 and 50K if you're an SMB. And they will tell you, okay, this is weak, this is very dangerous. That person clicked on something that is definitely, it shouldn't have. So they need to be trained. Next, you need to train the people to make it to make them aware of the risk and be part of your first line of defense. I have a memory, of a company that we made an assessment for, and we did this training after. So we fished them big time. We planted malwares. We took over the company, and they were like, "Okay, so what do we do now?" I'm like, "Well, we have to train people, because if you train them into recognizing what is dangerous or not, and how to define what's dangerous, they will maybe be the first line of defense instead of being your first weakest link." Like, okay. So the next year we tested them again. And indeed, we cannot breach in because they were aware and testing. There are some patterns you can check, easily for you just to remember. It's like, first of all, if someone is trying to con you into something, they will put some sort of urgency. I need it now. It's super important. I'm in danger. Some kind of urgency. To disable some mechanism in your mind. To disable some safety mechanism in your mind. Second thing is, they will bypass a normal procedure. They will make you do something awkward and telling, that's normal, it's me, I'm the boss. I need something urgent because I need to discuss to, VCs or whatever. That's bullshit. No boss should do this. And if the boss is not respecting the constraints of everybody in the company, he doesn't have to be the boss. He's liable, period. So I'm the boss. I don't know most of the thing of the codes of the sensitive stuff of my company. And that strictly normal. And if I go to my PA or if I go to my CTO asking for something strange and weird, he will tell me, no, you're not entitled to do that or to say so or to whatever. Because, we have those silos and we are clear about our responsibilities. I'm not at liberty of giving you that code. Or we need to meet in person and discuss this before, right? And always counter verify everything. If something sounds weird, call the person, right? Double check with him or her. There's no reason not to do so. And if you don't do so, you're responsible for the mistake.
Mm-hmm. All right. So a lot of useful tips. Maybe finalizing, if someone who's listening to this interview would like to walk away with some major takeaways, what would it be?
Well, cybersecurity is a vast field, but the mother of all doom is first of all the password, right? So it's been 30 years we tell everyone the password is a weakness number one, but it's been 30 years that most people are ignoring it. I have several different passwords, make them easy for you to remember. So say, for example, you like the Beatles, the rock band, the Beatles. You can, use passwords that are, for example, fabulous _ fab _ or star or dash or whatever, It's something you will never ever forget. And you can decline it in different ways, like fabulous for _ Beatles _ my bank name _ corporate or whatever, So think to have long password, complicated one, it's very basic. Test yourselves, train yourselves, train your company people, the key people also, and have product up to date. Never delay upgrades like on your browser or on your OS. That's a real mistake. Nowadays they are safe enough and stable enough. And if you don't do so, you expose yourself. So, and read the governmental body articles that usually are hinting you into the best practices. But you cannot skip on having experts at your sides because you have a job in life, which is very likely not cyber criminality or not cybersecurity. So you need to have people, helping you on this because it's hard to be an expert in this in just 2 days,
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, because I'm running a global risk community, we community for about 30,000 to many more risk managers and compliance professionals. And I would like to ask you personal opinion because you also probably managing kind of community of this open source community. So, how, from your perspective, how can we contribute to this better understanding of complex world of risk? Maybe from you tell us from your perspective, and I can analyze. Maybe it will work for our our community as well.
So the way we see it, and this is a definite core of what we're doing, is that going alone is the biggest mistake you can do, right? So that's why we are harnessing the power of the crowd. That's why we're joining together. I'm going to give you an example here. Like, if you take the top 30 companies in the world and you stack all the signals they have per day, what we call IOC, indicators of compromissions, everything that sounds dangerous, signals. Let's call them signals of hacking. They have something like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 some days. By binding together in CrowdSec, we have 600,000 per day. The power is in the number. Like Waze did in its time, solve the problem of road hazards. Because altogether we were contributing to telling there is an accident here, or there is a road hazard there, and it's slowing down here. Everybody would know, and the traffic would be so much more fluid on the roads. And it could only be achieved by taking those local information in a global overview. And the strength of the network is infinite here. So leverage it where you can, and when you can't, rely on experts. They will help you. But I'm definitely thinking that the future is both open source, free, and community driven. And no worries, we can make money out of it and survive very well as a company and thrive even with this kind of business model, really.
Interesting. So how do you survive if you can kind of explore more about, because I understand your main product is kind of community based, which is free, and how do you make money?
Well, if, say for example, so the community gets a free agent that is protecting their servers against intrusion, right? And what happens is like when they do so, they share the IP addresses that are aggressive toward the servers with the rest of the community, so that everybody in the community can defend themselves against the same IPs that could also aggress them, right? So it's kind of an internet neighborhood watch system, or a digital herd immunity, or whatever you call it, a ways of firewalls, right? The thing is, if you don't partake into this community, if you don't share, you can buy your access in the community. You don't have to share, and if you don't want to share, you can still benefit from the community findings by paying your subscription. And also, if you are a big either a country, a governmental body, or a large structure, large corporate structure, you may want to have extra services, right? Like, people rights and SSO and self-monitoring and manipulation of machines on distance in a central fashion and stuff like that. So all of these are premium features we are providing, and you can subscribe to get them. It's very reasonable price. And some machines cannot just run the agent and run the software. They just have no bandwidth or no CPU or no RAM to spare for that. Like if you take a camera, for example, it has enough CPU and RAM to analyze images, but not much more than that. So here, what we do is like we let them ask us before an IP connect to them. We let them ask if the IP is clean, and we tell them right away, ABCD is not clean. Don't let it connect to you, right? If you're a router, if you're a camera, whatever. So you cannot contribute to the network, but you can benefit from the network. In such a case, you pay a subscription.
So in this case, I have a follow-up question. In case of a bad guy want to know your secrets or whatever, he can also kind of pay and learn what you guys doing, right?
Well, what he will learn at best is as his IP addresses are blacklisted. He will eventually defend himself. He will eventually learn what is blacklisted, but it's public. You can go on our website, type your IP address, and you will see if you're blacklisted or not, right? We are not hiding this information from him. He will know it's blacklisted, but it doesn't help him in a way. He still needs to find new IP addresses to be able to attack you. So it's not because he knows it's blocked that he has progressed in any way in deblocking himself. So yeah, he can know he's blocked. No problem to me.
All right, so that were all my questions. Maybe if I forgot something and you would like to add some ideas that you have on your mind, please go ahead.
Sure. Well, we are at war, right? Everybody knows that internet is a war field. And for now, cyber criminals are winning this war. We bring a tool for all the goodwill people over the internet to defend themselves and help protect the others at the same time. By installing CrowdSec, you're protecting the next door hospital. You're protecting your granny. You're protecting your business. You're protecting everyone else. And everyone else is protecting you. We are joining hands in an army to fight back. You can help now. You just have to use the product and defend yourself for free. And by doing this, we will fight this war and win this war. We will make a difference in the tip of the balance, and yeah, it's up to you. So join us on crowdsec.net, crowdsec.net. Free product, cool product, made by professional. We expect you.
All right, thank you, fantastic. And thank you, Philippe, for your very interesting interview. And I wish your company kind of grows to all major geographies. Are you currently now in Europe or worldwide? How do you spread now?
Our users are in 126 countries to date.
Oh, wow. So you
And
already
there are tens of thousands. So yeah, it's growing nicely, 1 to 3% per day.
Wow. It's kind of viral growth. Okay, thank you very much. Maybe we can set up a call in half a year and see how you progress. And
with
thank
pleasure.
you. All right, Philippe. Thank you. Bye. 1 second.